One down, 15 to go for the Cleveland Cavaliers as Ty Jerome, Darius Garland, and Donovan Mitchell combined to score 85 points in a 121-120 win over the Miami Heat. Guys, I'm going to tweet out real quick that we're live. Give me 1 second and we will get back to this Game 1 reaction stream where the Cavaliers did more than enough to put Miami in a pretty large deficit following Game 1. 1 sec here. Bear with me. I got to send out the We're Live tweet. All right, guys. What a win for Cleveland. As I tweeted out earlier, for anyone who missed it, I am a bit under the weather. I'm recovering from a cold. I didn't want to get anyone at the arena sick. That's why I'm staying home tonight to do this stream. I should be in the show for UCSS tomorrow. And you get such a different perspective watching on TV than in the arena. And sometimes when you're in the arena, because you're so hyper-focused on what's going on around you and what's happening from your individual angle from the media seats, you miss the big picture. But when you're on the couch watching just like everybody else and you have the broadcast angle, you see everything. And tonight, Ty Jerome did everything. Guys, I sat down with Ty on Thursday. We talked about his floater. If you haven't seen that interview, I highly recommend go back and watch it because Ty talked about how his floater unlocks all the other facets of his ability to score. When he's making that floater, defenders don't know how tight they have to get up on him beyond the three-point line. If they get up too tight, then he can use his handle to get to the cup. Tonight, Ty was damn near perfect. He was 10 of 15 from the floor. By my tracking, he was 3 of 4 on floaters. He hit 5 of his 8 three-point attempts. In 26 minutes, Ty was a plus 16. He single-handedly changed the game for Cleveland. Donovan and Darius also played extremely well. Sam Merrill played well as well in 24 minutes. We'll talk about those guys in a second. But Ty Jerome, I said this on the radio with Earl and Spencer German on Saturday. If Ty was on Miami, he would be their second best offensive option. He'd probably be their number 2 scorer. On Cleveland, he's a guy that Kenny Atkinson has the luxury of bringing off the bench and inserting into the game to change the energy. And tonight, for spurts in the game, for not just a 2-minute stretch, but for a 4-5, and in the third quarter, a 6-minute stretch, Ty Jerome was the best player on the court. I don't remember what game it was earlier in the season, but I asked Kenny Atkinson, Kenny, there has been a handful of times this year where Ty Jerome just takes over a game. And he has, as you guys know, what I call a league pass moment. Tonight he had our first league pass playoff moment in Cavaliers' recent history. Donovan had one against Orlando last year, and maybe you could give it to Evan against Boston in Game 5. But tonight was the first one of at least this playoff run. And I asked Kenny, what do you see from Ty? Is it a look in his eye? What is it about him in those moments that gives you confidence he's about to just explode? And Kenny Atkinson, who coached Ty Jerome in Golden State, said it just kind of comes out of nowhere. You can't know it's going to happen. You can't foresee it. You can't predict it. But there are just moments where he becomes the best player on the court. He's like Steph Curry at times. We call him Steph Jerome. That was Kenny Atkinson like 3 months ago. And Ty Jerome, before the game tonight, was honored as one of the 3 finalists for the 6th Man of the Year award, along with Malik Beasley and Peyton Pritchard. I don't think he's going to win. As I have said multiple times on this platform, if I had a vote, he'd be my winner. But I don't have a vote. I think it's going to be Peyton Pritchard, but it should be Ty Jerome because there is no more impactful player on a minute-by-minute basis than Ty Jerome. And tonight was the perfect encapsulation of what he does to this team, to this offense, and to this city. Go look at your Twitter feeds, guys. Everyone's tweeting about Ty Jerome. I tweeted out Sam Cassell, big ball celebration for Ty Jerome. I saw Zach Jackson tweet out that Joe Flacco should wear a Ty Jerome jersey to his press conference on Wednesday if he wants to win over the city. I was texting with Jason Lloyd. Screw Brown Stadium. If Mayor Bibb said, Jimmy Haslam, take Brown Stadium, move him to Brook Park, I'm going to build a 100-foot Ty Jerome statue facing Lake Erie and the Great Lakes. I don't think anyone would object because that is the level of popularity Ty Jerome has risen to this season. It's one game. The Cavs have to win 15 more games before we coronate anybody, before we build statues for anybody. But in one game, in 48 minutes of basketball, Ty Jerome was one of the Cavaliers' 3 best players and arguably their most impactful player tonight. Him, Donovan, and Darius combined for 85 points. That's not their big 3. That's not part of their core 4. That is their 3 leading guards. Those 3, 85 points on relatively, no. I'm going to correct myself. On incredible efficiency. Darius, 10 of 17 from the floor. Donovan, 11 for 19 from the floor. Ty, 10 of 15 from the floor. From 3, 5 of 9, 5 of 8, and Donovan was 2 of 9, missed his first 7, made his next 2. You cannot ask. You could not hope for. You could not predict a better offensive showing from that trio tonight than you got. There are some other guys that have to play better. We'll talk about that in a second. But let's focus on the unquestioned positive from what we saw. The Miami Heat have no answer for the guards that Cavaliers have in an offensive capacity. Tyler Hero is a really good offensive player, not a good defensive player. Davion Mitchell is a good defensive player, and he can do his best to make life miserable for Donovan and Darius. But he's not at the caliber of Donovan and Darius. This isn't an all-defensive player or an all-NBA defensive team caliber guard. He's good. Do not mistake what I'm saying. He's a good defensive guard, but he's not good enough to completely take Donovan or Darius out of the game like a Lou Dort or an Amen Thompson or someone of that high caliber can. He's solid, but that's about it. Bam Adebayo is a really good defensive player, but he's not an elite rim protector. He's a really good defender as a big switching on the perimeter. He provides some rim protection. He's really smart defensively. He's always in the right position. But Donovan and Darius tonight attack the rim with little fear of their shot being blocked. Kel'el Ware, the Miami rookie, is their best actual shot blocking threat. But tonight, Ware only played 20 minutes. He was 1 of 2 from the floor. He did block 2 shots in 20 minutes, but he only grabbed 3 rebounds. He was a minus 12 in his 20 minutes. Excuse me. That's not going to cut it. You look at the other big guys they have off the bench. Guys, they don't truly exist. When Ware's not in the game, Adebayo is playing the center. Andrew Wiggins slides over to the 4. Hayward Highsmith played 31 minutes tonight. He's 6'6" with long arms, but he's not much of a rim protection guy. On the night, Miami had 4 blocks. Highsmith had 1, Ware had 2, and Adebayo had 1. Cavaliers, well, they only had 4 blocks too, and Sam Merrill led them in blocks. Merrill had 2 blocks according to the stat sheet. But when Donovan and Darius are able to attack without the fear of a rim protector, it forces the entire defense to collapse in on those drives, and that allows the kickouts, and that allows the rotation attacks for Cleveland, who shot 42% from 3 today. They were 18 of 43 from 3. Okoro missed all 4 of his. They got 2 up in garbage time if you want to take those out. They shot about 44% if you take out the 2 garbage time attempts, which you're going to live with and you're going to celebrate if you're Cleveland. They were 18 basically of 41 minus those garbage time attempts. They attack the closeouts. And when there's not a rim protector, when there's not somebody that you have to fear blocking your shot, they can be more aggressive. And Donovan, who hasn't been great at finishing around the rim this season, the numbers back it up. It's his lowest field goal percentage at the rim since his final season in Utah. He's getting to the rim more infrequently, so less frequently, I should say, than he has since 2019-2020 season. But tonight he was awesome around the rim. He had one where he went up on the right side, did a little dipsy-do, finished on the left. He had a pump fake midair and then came back with the right hand. Why can you do that? Why do you have the luxury of hanging in midair and allowing the defense to dictate where you shoot? Because it's not an elite shot blocker. You can't do that when Wemby or Mobley are behind you. Why? Because they're long and they're athletic enough to mirror your options offensively. But when you're a Hayward Highsmith or a Duncan Robinson or even a Davion Mitchell, who's a smaller guard, who's pesky on the perimeter but not much of an interior threat, you know you could out-jump them and out-muscle them and out-strength them, outsmart them. And that's what you saw Darius and Donovan do on multiple occasions tonight. Some other big-picture takeaways. It's game 1. It's one game. It's still a 7-game series. But the overall takeaway from this game is pretty much what I said going into it. Miami is a talented, well-coached team, but they're not nearly as talented as Cleveland. And basketball is a game of Jimmys and Joes, not always X's and O's. And at the end of the day, when we talked about this series, and I was on the radio with Earl and Spencer German yesterday, once we found out they were playing Miami, I thought Spo and company could muck it up and make it ugly and make it more competitive than it probably should be. But they don't have the firepower to hang around with Cleveland 4 out of 7 games. They just don't. And you saw tonight with the final score being 121 to 100. Miami hit a bunch of tough shots. They hit a bunch of threes tonight that I think they're going to struggle to replicate throughout the series. And they still scored 100 points. Barely scoring 100 points. Cleveland held Miami to just 46 points in the second half. In those crucial minutes when Miami needed a bucket, they didn't have many good options to turn to. And that was with Cleveland playing legitimately 9 guys tonight, with Dean Wade being kind of the odd man out, which was a little surprised about. I'll talk about that in a second. I tweeted this out. I'll reiterate it here. This series reminds me a lot of the Jake Paul-Mike Tyson fight. Anyone who's afraid of the Miami Heat in this series is just going off nostalgia, going off the fact that Miami's well coached, and they made the finals as an 8 seed 2 seasons ago. But that was with Jimmy Butler, and that was with Bam at the peak of his powers, and that was with Kyle Lowry, and that was a different Miami team than what you have here. The only similarities are Eric Spoelstra, Bam Adebayo, and Tyler Hero. And just like you thought Mike Tyson might have one last deadly hook in him and has the capacity to knock out Jake Paul if he landed on the perfect punch, it just never was going to happen. You're betting on a 60-year-old boxer against the younger, more talented, fresher in his prime, hungrier opponent. And at the end of the day, Jake Paul didn't need his best performance to beat Mike Tyson that night. You could argue he pulled some punches. And I think Cleveland could pull some punches against Miami and still walk away from this series victorious just based on the pure talent discrepancy between the 1-seeded Cleveland Cavaliers and the 10th-seeded Miami Heat. Cleveland won 64 games this season. Miami won 37. Miami was 5 games under 500 in the regular season. They rested a bunch of guys. They made a midseason trade. The Jimmy Butler situation got ugly. I understand all the exterior circumstances that led to that 37-win season. But 37 wins is 37 wins. They won 27 fewer games in the regular season than the Cleveland Cavaliers in the same Eastern Conference. These teams are not similar. Miami's good enough to make it competitive and make the games competitive, but overall, in a big series standpoint, there is no way Miami is going to be able to keep up with Cleveland's offensive firepower 4 out of 7 games. It's just not going to happen. And for 3 quarters, they did their best to withstand some of the runs that Cleveland went on. But at the end of the day, they didn't have enough shot makers. They didn't. It is what it is. Excuse me. Kenny said he was going to play 10 guys. He did play 10 guys. I thought the rotations were pretty interesting tonight. Look at the starters' minutes. Strus only played 21 minutes tonight, despite the fact he was 3 of 5 from 3. He was at plus 18 in those 21 minutes. But down the stretch, Kenny opted to go with Sam Merrill and Ty Jerome over Max Strus. The rest of the starters all played between 30 and 31 minutes. 30 and 33 minutes, excuse me. Mobley played 33, Allen 30, Garland 31, Mitchell 33. Merrill, 24 minutes tonight, was a plus 11 in 24 minutes. He led Cleveland in blocks. He had 4 assists. He was 2 of 4 from the arc. I thought he had some really good defensive possessions. He stymied Andrew Wiggins on a drive where Wiggins went right, tried to spin left, and Merrill slid his feet perfectly. He had another defensive possession on Davion Mitchell where he closed out in the corner, shuffled his feet, hand up high. Mitchell tried to attack him off the closeout. He took the perfect pivot step with his left foot back, cut off the driving angle, forced him to kick to the top. I did not expect Sam Merrill to be the Cavaliers' leading bench guy in terms of minutes behind Ty Jerome, but he had more minutes than Isaac Okoro. He had more minutes than DeAndre Hunter. He had more minutes than Dean Wade. Hell, he had more minutes than DeAndre Hunter and Dean Wade combined. He had more minutes than Isaac Okoro and Dean Wade combined. He almost had more minutes than Okoro and Hunter combined. Those two combined have played 29. Merrill played 24 minutes. Speaking of DeAndre Hunter, a big fat 0 on the board for DeAndre Hunter. 16 minutes, 0 of 4 from the floor. 3 rebounds, 1 assist, 0 points. Okoro, 0 for 4 from 3. If Isaac is going to play, this series is irrelevant. When we talk about the rotations, I want to make something very, 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 very clear. The rotations in this series are basically irrelevant. The talent discrepancy between Miami and Cleveland is big enough that Kenny can play essentially whatever lineups he wants. He could sacrifice minutes. If a guy doesn't perform, so be it, and the Cleveland Cavaliers will be fine. When we talk about the rotations, the big picture rotations, it's in game 6 or 7 of a second-round series against Indiana or Milwaukee, or it's in the Eastern Conference Finals against the Celtics, the Knicks, or whoever they play. That's when the rotations truly matter. In this first series, the minutes discrepancy is basically irrelevant because I think Kenny's going to rock with the hot hand. But when we look at the big picture here, is Hunter only going to play 16 minutes? Or did he only play 16 minutes because he wasn't making shots? Isaac Okoro, Miami left him wide open. He was 0-4 on wide open threes. The first 3 he took at the side of the backboard. If Isaac is going to be in the rotation later in the playoffs, he has to make open jump shots. Isaac is a tremendous point of attack defensive player. Isaac is maybe their best point of attack defensive player. But Kenny Atkinson has told us with his actions throughout the season that if somebody is not providing the necessary spacing for his offense to function, they will not be in the lineup in crucial situations. And if teams are going to force Isaac Okoro to step up and make open threes by leaving him bare ass open, he cannot go 0-4 on wide open threes. Against Miami, he's going to get more opportunities than he probably should if he's not making shots. In the second round series, he will get opportunities. But against Boston or the Knicks or whoever they play in the Eastern Conference Finals, if Isaac is not making shots, he can't play. If Dean Wade's not making shots, he cannot play. Dean tonight, in 5 minutes, 1 rebound, no assists, no steals, no blocks, no shot attempts. He was a +5 in those 5 minutes. But Dean Wade is a guy that I think impacts winning. And for whatever reason, this is now the second coach in a row and 1 game sample size. I understand this is a tiny sample size. I'm not saying this is how it's going to be for the entire playoffs or even the entire series. But this is the second coach in a row we've seen favor other guys off the bench instead of Dean Wade. And that can mean 150,000 different things. Maybe it means Dean Wade just doesn't have the balls for playoff basketball. We've seen that in the past. Some guys just don't have the mental fortitude and the cojones to step up and make big plays on the biggest of stages. I'm not saying that's the case with Dean Wade, but I think Dean Wade's a better player than a guy who's only playing 5 minutes off the bench when Kenny's going to a 10-man rotation. So there's got to be a bigger reason behind it. He's not injured. He wasn't listed on the injury report. So maybe is it mental? I don't know. I was at the game tonight. I hope someone asked Kenny that post game. I don't have the answer for you guys right now. I did text Jason and tell him to ask that question if he gets a chance. We'll see if we get an answer for tomorrow. Other guys off the bench, though, I thought Jerome obviously was incredible. I thought Merrill played very well. Hunter, not too worried about it. He was really good against Miami in the regular season, just couldn't find a jump shot tonight. And Kenny tended to go with the hot hand. And you know what? I like that approach, especially early in the playoffs. If a guy's hot, stick with them. And if a guy's playing like Sam Merrill was tonight, who despite the stat sheet only showing a 6-point performance with 4 assists and 2 blocks, which is not going to wow you based off the traditional counting stats, look at what he did in rotation defensively. Look at how the ball kept moving when Sam was on the court. Look at how much gravity he pulls when he comes off screens that opens up driving and cutting lanes for the rest of the offense. That's the impact a guy like Sam Merrill has. And if he's hot and playing well and you like what you're seeing from Sam, stick with it. I think too often coaches get so tied to their rotations and they're so cut and dry and black and white with how many minutes they want a certain guy to play and they want this group to play together. Well, in the playoffs, sometimes you just got to rock with the hot hand. And tonight the hot hand was Ty Jerome and Sam Merrill. And there's a reason those two combined for 50 minutes off the bench. All in all, Cleveland, a 1-0 start to the postseason. They have to win 16 of these bad boys to host the the Larry O'Brien Trophy when it is all said and done. And they have 15 more to go before they get that opportunity. Excuse me, I'm losing my voice here. I told you guys, a little under the weather, which is why I'm doing this from home. We're going to get to some comments here to wrap this up in a second. But the last thing I wanted to mention, Evan Mobley and Jared Allen in this game combined for 21 points, 18 rebounds, 3 steals, 2 assists, and 1 block in 66 minutes. They need more from those two. I'm not saying they played poorly. I don't think they played poorly. I think they played okay. But I thought Evan Mobley had some advantages and some mismatches off pick and rolls early in the game that Cleveland didn't necessarily take advantage of. And if Evan's going to get these mismatches on switches, you have to feed the ball in the post and let Evan make a decision. If they come in double, you kick it out for a three. And if they don't, then Evan has to beat the living crap out of the smaller defender that's on his back. And the same goes for Jarrett Allen. And there was one possession early where Darius and Jarrett ran a pick and roll, and Jarrett had Davion Mitchell in the post, and there was some backside help. I believe it was Hayward Highsmith. I could be wrong, but he was on the backside help, so you couldn't lob it over the top, and Mitchell was fronting. It's not an easy pass. I'm not saying that you have to make that pass. I'm just pointing out the situation. I am taking my chances with Jarrett Allen in the post on Davion Mitchell 1,000 out of 1,000 times. And in this series, with the limited front court options Miami has, Mobley and Allen, I think, are going to have multiple chances per game to show off a little bit of their post game that Cleveland doesn't often feature when they're facing bigger opponents. Because of the way Miami's lineup is structured and because of some of their defensive principles, they are going to give up switches and they are going to get disadvantageous matchups where one of their smaller guards is in the post against one of Cleveland's bigs. And this is something that is nitpicking coming off of a 21-point Game 1 win where the Cavaliers emptied their bench in the final minutes. So take it with a grain of salt. But I want to see them take advantage of those mismatches. Evan and Jarrett combined tonight for 18 shots. I understand it was an up-tempo game. I understand the guards were feeling it. 17 for Garland, 19 for Mitchell, 15 for Jerome. I understand that those guys had the ball in their hands and were being efficient and effective with the ball. I get all of that. It's not even a critique. It's more just an observation. But I want to see those two get the ball in the post more often and be able to go to work because they put Miami in a difficult situation. Do you help and then recover, or do you let those two go to work on smaller defenders? And if they're going to let those two go to work on the smaller defenders, you know the saying, guys, mouse in the house. Feed the beast. Let them cook. And we've seen enough from Mobley and Mobley and Allen this season to know that if they catch the ball on the block with the smaller defender, it usually results in good things for Cleveland's offense. At the end of the day, a 121-100 win in Game 1 of the Eastern Conference first round of the playoffs is nothing to be upset about. It was a tremendous win, and Ty Jerome, Donovan, and Darius carried the majority of the offensive load. To continue this series, other guys are going to have to step up because I think it's a little unfair to ask those three to score 85 points as a combined unit on a night-in, night-out basis. But I thought you got a B or C performance from Mobley, from Allen, from Strus, from Hunter. Hunter is even lower than a BC. And if you won by 20 with average performances from the majority of your team, I think you're sitting pretty for the most part in this series. I'm going to see if I can get to any of these comments. It's over 300, so the answer is probably not. But are there any super chats I have to get to? No super chats. So, excuse me. You know what? I appreciate all you guys. Because I'm losing my voice here, I want to save this for tomorrow so we can talk about it. We're going to wrap this up, and we are going to head into tomorrow with a clear mind and a 1-0 lead for the Cleveland Cavaliers. God bless Ty Jerome. God bless Donovan. God bless Darius. Happy Easter to all, and sleep good knowing your Cleveland Cavaliers are now just 15 wins away from winning the NBA championship. My name is Mikey McNuggets. You know where to find me, and we will be back on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show tomorrow, starting at 11 a.m., recapping this game. We got Jason, Jay, and G on the panel tomorrow, so we'll get their thoughts on the game. We got Zach Jackson coming in studio, talking draft, talking guards, talking Cavs from 11 to 1. You know where to find us. We will see y'all tomorrow. Have a good night, and go Cavs. Peace.